My name's Liz Aldridge. I am, my pronouns, should I say, are she and her. I'm a senior talent acquisition manager at Amazon. Depending on how this presentation lands, if it doesn't land well, please just tell people I work at Google. So it's a really interesting topic. When you search for leadership in Amazon Books, it comes back with over 2,000 results, which suggests it's a difficult topic. But is it? Or is it that it rightly deserves continued thought, focus and scrutiny because it involves the great privilege and responsibility of affecting change, involving people, companies and resources, which means that we should all constantly scratch our heads on what it means and what it means to us, which being asked to speak today has enabled me to do. I hope some of you enjoy the topics and have a little bit of an insight into Amazon and the way that we work and the way that we scale. I'll be happy to take questions at the end. Not on where your parcel is, please. There's a couple of people who've already asked me. I don't know. But before then, let me tell you about the important stuff. A little bit about me. I'm married. I'm a northerner. I live in Leeds, which I've met quite a few northerners already. 4 children who keep me super grounded. Certainly the youngest, who's 16, who is a Gen Z, which is quite interesting. And then I also have the other 3 are millennials. So I get quite a cross-section of, you can't do that, that's not what I want to do. I have 2 beautiful English bulldogs as well, who equally keep me grounded. The little one's totally insane. And then most of the time I am spent as a mum on the side of a cricket, rugby, football, hockey, whatever pitch, supporting my kids. Professionally, I have worked in recruitment for my entire career. I'm not going to give away how many years that is because that will age me. I've worked for government organisations. I've also worked for private organisations as well. Agency, as you can see, Randstad, in-house, volume hiring, and exec search as well. So over that time, I've had the privilege to gradually lead larger and larger teams with some really interesting and diverse contexts as well. I joined Amazon nearly 7 years ago in 2016 within Ops TA, the part of Amazon that ensures we're staffed to deliver your parcels, which my mother continually reminds me, like, why is my parcel late? Aren't you meant to be recruiting all these people? What's going on? So in my first year, interestingly, in 2016, I led a team of 3 that delivered 146 hires. By 2020, I was leading a team of 22, delivering 2,365 hires. Currently, my team now consists of 48 recruiters, focusing on high-volume field and speciality roles, so ops supervisors, HR assistants, health and safety, etc. This year, we're on track to deliver 7,500 hires across 30 different job roles, 15 countries, and between us, we're spread over 8 countries as a team of recruiters within my team, and we speak 14 different languages. My amazing team, which I'm super proud of, and I could do a whole presentation on them, are now part of an org that will deliver 25,000 hires this year across 28 countries. But the question that you guys want to know is, how have we managed to scale and change at such a rate? The example that I want to talk to today is about the implementation of profile-based hiring. My team launched this in January 2020 after a year where we'd had to deliver 800 hires in 2019. Due to the expansion, we need to deliver in excess of 2,000 hires in 2020. Gave me a few sleepless nights. And then continue to scale in order to deliver in excess of 5,000, and obviously this year 7,500. Profile-based hiring, for me, was the key to enabling to scale and quickly meet the increase in demand. For context, profile-based hiring looks at recruiting horizontally versus vertically. Each team in 2019 were working on roles from entry level to exec in vertical streams in the org. For example, my team were recruiting for an operations lead in the fulfillment center, or the first mile, and another team was recruiting for the same role in our delivery stations, or what we call the final mile of our business. Considering reducing external talent pools, candidate experience, and the scale and pace we had to grow, we had to view things differently to ensure the recruiters were maximizing every single application and sharing resource. Sharing talent is the key mindset to profile-based hiring, along with managing hiring managers and key stakeholders as well. For example, hiring managers now that we work with don't actually necessarily interview the own people that will be working in their teams. So a little bit of a mindset change that we had to go through with the hiring manager. So this was a change in strategy and structure. It involved a change in mindset, skill, so both a process and people-based change as well. Like I said, it was a bit scary. I didn't leap into action. I paused, I thought about it, what can we do differently? Because the business at that time were like, just do more, add more headcount, it'll be okay. But I thought, what's the real opportunity here? How can we really change in a way that has multiple outcomes and impact candidate experience, team morale, satisfaction, productivity, efficiencies, all of that good stuff. But the thing for me was, how can we change purposefully? There are obviously a lot of process flows, business comms, project sessions, all of that good stuff that I could talk through, but I want to focus on some of the key principles which I've applied to scaling and leading through the change. The overarching Amazon TA developed this visual with the help of a cartoonist. If anyone hasn't worked with Inky Thinking, they're amazing, absolutely amazing. They came to one of our all-hands meeting as a team, and there's about 340 recruiters in the overarching team. And this would provide to be instrumental in the change. As I considered how to approach it, I needed to ensure the change outcomes would align with our org's vision and purpose. As you can see there, vision, make Amazon the premier destination of Earth's most talented people. With the space race and everything, I'm sure Jeff would probably change that, but for the minute, we're concentrating on Earth. The purpose, why, is connecting diverse people with exceptional opportunity. I'm such an advocate for this, I can't talk about how much it is to have absolutely clarity as an organisation or team where you're going and why. I know it sounds really, really obvious, but you need to spell this out and take steps to reinforce it and bring it to life, else a team will totally lack direction. A decent vision and purpose can have a huge unifying power on the team. Once we've reminded ourselves as TA, as you can see there, like where we were and why, it was then on to the how. Now, the how, these are our leadership principles. I haven't got a silver bullet. I said to Tasha, it's really awkward talking about change. What can I give you? What's the secret? What can I do? Change is more so about the mindset. So I know everyone's familiar with management models of change, the Kubler-Ross change, the 7 Rs, all of that good stuff. But I just want to offer a slightly different lens to these models via the Amazon leadership principles. A company's leadership principles need to be the bedrock of a culture of innovation and a touchstone that leaders and their teams come back to daily. It's not something that you just do once and then say, okay, that's fine, that's our principles. You absolutely need to revisit it on a daily basis. They need to be infused in everything employees do and say, and they become the day-to-day part of business language. Amazon's leadership principles are great tools that help us foster autonomous decision-making as the company scales, and helps leaders beyond their immediate line of sight. But it's not just what the leadership principles say, but how we utilize them. So for example, any candidate that goes through a hiring process within Amazon will be assessed against the leadership principles. We have questions for each of those 16 leadership principles that say, give me an example of blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily straightforward, just give me an example of hiring to develop the best. But there are examples in there that candidates demonstrate those leadership principles. We also use these leadership principles in our performance management, on our yearly Forte reviews, we call them Forte, whereby we'll say, okay, what are your superpowers? And we reference one of these, you can choose from 3, or what are your growth areas again. This way it becomes really common language between both the business and also the TA function. We also look at problems from different angles as well, the balance priorities and the time that you need to make a decision. They provide a way to challenge and test assumptions as well, and foster diverse perspectives, raise your own bar on behalf of your customers. I'm not going to go through all 16, but what I want to do is just touch on a few of them, how these helped with not only the profile-based change, but then any change that I've dealt with since then. And it gives you a little bit of insight into Amazon and the way we work as well. So customer obsession. Customer obsession is and was Amazon's first leadership principle in 1994, and it, to this day, remains the most important. When I looked at this and going back to leadership principles, thinking about that change, I thought about, okay, who are the customers within TA? And for me and my team and the org, it's about the hiring managers, the stakeholders, the partner teams, which are often forgotten, but most importantly, our candidates. We had to look, with regards to profile-based hiring, about what the candidates wanted. We had to put them at the centre of decisions. If anyone's tried to apply for a job at Amazon, don't say it, but it's notoriously difficult. There's a few laughs. It's notoriously difficult to navigate into Amazon as a candidate. And some of the issues with different recruiters that we had in the team is actually a candidate would apply to a couple of recs and they'd be contacted by different recruiters for a very similar role. So with the profile-based hiring, because we were actually now recruiting horizontally, they would apply for one role. And the candidates then had the choice for where they would be. So some of the backgrounds we actually leverage now, you might have a candidate that would apply for an operations lead role, but they're from an HR background. So we then can recycle them into a different role. We're open and we're honest with the candidates. And when we actually did some research around what the candidates wanted, we went to our employees now, had coffee chats, looked at what they wanted when they applied as a candidate. And the main thing was, actually, I just want to work for Amazon, or I want to work for Amazon operations. They have no idea about this part of the business in Amazon or that part of the business. It was like, I just want to join Amazon. We also looked at, could the candidate skills be coachable? And for the areas that I lead, a lot of the time, yes, they are coachable. We also focus really heavily on recruiting for potential. As everyone probably knows in this room from a TA, the external talent pools are depleting. We have to look at things differently, and potential is the way forward. And could the candidates, like I say, be recycled and keep them in the process? We also have a bench process as well. If their perfect role that they want doesn't come up, and they're sticking to this is the parameters, we'll keep them on the bench and we'll contact them. So every step in every process, across Amazon and across my org as well, we ask ourselves, how will this affect the customer or candidate positively? The other one I want to touch on as well is earn trust. Earn trust of the team. Leadership visibility is so important, even when you're going through a change. The key words for me in this are listen, speak, and treat. Change can focus on communicating to people, but what's really critical is to listen attentively, and make sure your communications are two-way throughout. Doing a change with people, not to them, and having respect for their opinions and inputs. Sometimes I didn't, and sometimes, well, I do still not have an answer to an issue or blocker that the guys might be facing. And I say, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, and Marion, you touched on it earlier. I don't have all the answers. I'm not the subject matter expert. But showing that vulnerability as a leader has a huge impact on your teams, huge. And what you get from that is inspiration, innovation, ideas, and that element that they can actually trust you. And if they make a mistake, you've got their back. I openly talked about all the changes with my teams, and you can look at obviously the size of the hiring that we do versus the numbers in the org. It was like, oh, how's my role going to change? And like I say, there's a bit behind it around the process, etc. I can share with you if you like. But what I did do is communicate with them and make sure that they felt that they were in a safe place, and over-communicate continually. The other key point as well is that each and every one of my team is a leader. I'm not just the only leader. Everyone, regardless of level, tenure, whatever badge you want to put on it, they're all leaders. Someone can be in the business, in my team, for a week and they're a leader, and they're empowered to make those decisions, lead the business, and come to the table as a leader. The word manager doesn't kind of sit well with me, even though I'm obviously senior TA manager. We're all leaders. By giving trust, ultimately by giving trust, I earned it. And I know my team trusted me to lead them and continue to do it, even though sometimes I have no idea with Amazon as an org or what we're going to do with regards to this scale. Now, this isn't an Amazon leadership principle, but it speaks to earn trust. Empowerment, absolutely one of the most important things a leader can do, leading on from earn trust. We use this tool called the Empowerment Tree. It's basically helping to equip all the leaders, regardless of what level they are at, to be able to understand what decisions they should and shouldn't make. When someone, like I just touched on then, when someone's a week in the business, okay, what can I do? What's my framework that I can work within? But this is really important with empowerment, is that you're devolving responsibility to your teams because you trust them, going back to the end trust, but what you're not devolving is accountability. And I could have shown you the accountability ladder. Ultimately, if something goes wrong, it's me. And then a team need to know that they can make these decisions, but yeah, it comes on to me. I also have a post-it on my desk. I'm pretty old school, as you can see, because I've got my notes, that says, this is normally where I would give you a decision, but I won't, as the decision is yours. And I'm really intentional with a post-it note. It's visual, even virtually working at home, I have to see it there because it's so easy as a leader to jump in and go, oh yeah, do this, do that. And they go, okay, I'll go and do that then. But it's like, the decision is yours, what would you do? This has become such commonplace within Amazon and with my team and the org that actually we use this tool to say, no, this is a Leaf decision. So you can use it as well to help and support your teams, or that could be a Roots decision. The other one I've got as well, bias for action. Andy Jassy, our CEO, says speed is not preordained, speed is a choice. You can make this choice, and you've got to set up a culture that has urgency and actually wants to experiment. You've got to be doing it all the time. Personally, I totally agree. We've been working on the implementation of profile-based hiring throughout back into 2019. And in October, we got the demand figures, which were more than doubling. I was like, okay, we're going to have to go for it, guys. We're going to have to launch profile-based hiring. Let's not think too much about the process. Let's not think too much about, drilling down into the comms. We need to do it, and we need to do it in January. And my team was super excited by launching it in the Jan. What we also saw, that bias for action, which I really like, many decisions and actions are reversible and do not need extensive study. And as an organization and a team, we really value risk-taking. Some, like I said, some decisions are reversible or Leaf decisions, ones you can quickly launch, test, and should you find it's not working, then you could just reverse out of it. We have a phrase, again, in Amazon that's called two-way door decision. It's a two-way door decision. Just go with it. What's the worst that could happen? Just go back. These two final ones are equally important to me. Have backbone, disagree and commit, role model and commit. It's really important to ensure all your leadership group have a voice and are comfortable and committed to challenging thoughts and decisions. But they fully understand when that decision has been made, they commit to it. There's quite a funny story about the Amazon studio execs presented an original production to Jeff. And Jeff said, I don't think it's too interesting. It's too complicated to produce. The business terms are not that good. And you know what? Let's go after a different opportunity. Those execs disagreed with him. Jeff wrote straight back and said, I disagree and commit. And he hoped it was the most watchable thing that was ever made. But he committed to it, even though he disagreed. Consider how much slower the decision cycle would have been if the team had actually convinced him rather than simply getting his commitment. Interestingly, that production went on to win 11 Emmys, 6 Golden Globes, and 3 Oscars, and Jeff was a little bit like, oh, okay. And finally, the leadership principle, for me, to bring it full circle, is invent and simplify. And again, touched on this, we look at innovation, we look at all the time how we can do things differently, how we can continue to make things better for the customer, the candidate, and also when we look at externally, yes, we're aware, but actually if you're bold enough and brave enough to go, let's just try it. Let's try something totally new. And yeah, as we do new things, we accept that we may be misunderstood for long periods of time. So, these are my key thoughts. Simon Sinek is amazing as well. If you haven't watched, read, listened to him, he's a really, really inspirational individual. So some key thoughts around this. Leadership principles, they help me lead in times of scale, pace and change. They ensure that I do actually remain purposeful as well about the role I need to play in the situations. And it's also helped me apply my thinking to the things that matter most. Process, yes. People is the main thing that enables to scale. developing your own company's principles and creating purposeful, meaningful principles that you can come back to, and they are in there, will allow you to drive any business at scale. And most importantly, empowering your team to be leaders, you multiply brain power, ideas, goodwill, everything. That's at the heart of the scale, change and pace. Thank you.